सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासं शरीरं मे विचर्षणं जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवम् ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिः पृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वपवित्रो वाजिनीव स्वमृतमस्मि द्रविणगुं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कोर्वेदानुवचनम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। आप्यायन्तु मम अङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुः श्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत्। अनिराकरणमस्तु अनिराकरणं मे अस्तु। तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मा ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य मआनीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधितेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। भद्रं कर्णेभिः वातयमनः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तं हदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। chant verse number 1 and 6 of the Màndukya Upanishad. Om ityetadakshara idagum sarvam. Om ityetadakshara idagum sarvam. Tasya upabhyakhyanam. Bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva. Bhutam bhavat bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva. Yacchanyat-trikalatitam tadapi omkara eva. Yacchanyat-trikalati tadapi omkara eva. Esha sarveshwaraha. Esha sarvagyaha. Esha antaryami. Esha yonihi. Sarvasya prabhavapyayau hi bhutanam. Okay, and then let's chant verse number 9 of the Karika, page 3 of this book. Bhogartham shrishtihityanye. Bhogartham shrishtihityanye. Kridarthamiti chapare. Devasyaisha swabhavoyam. Aptakamasya ka spriha. So in wrapping up this topic, so we'll begin the main Upanishad, verse number 7 today. So this topic, as you know, it's good to get a kind of an overall sense of what is being said here. So we set up the topic by the very important word called vyavastha. So vyavastha meant that the world should work according to some laws, and there is an order in it. There is a certain structure in it, and we can figure it out. This is the sort of the main thing. So it has two aspects to that which I wanted to point out. One aspect of this expectation that this is a vyavastha and we need to be able to figure it out. One aspect of that is the microcosmic aspect. And one is micro and one is macro. So the macrocosmic aspect means that there are intelligent people who are busy figuring out how this world works. And it has a couple of elements to it. You have the religious, so-called religious and so-called spiritual people. This is one aspect of it. And the other one is the scientific aspect of it, the whole science. They're all trying to figure out how the whole world is. So this is the macro aspect of vyavastha, of seeing how the whole world works. But to us, more important than the macro vyavastha, and this is what I wanted to just highlight today as we finish this topic, and then now we'll be done with it, is the micro vyavastha, is the micro aspect of the vyavastha. And what do you mean by a micro aspect of the vyavastha? The micro aspect of the vyavastha means that my attitude towards leading my life, forget about the religious people and the spiritual people and the scientists and so on, those actually confirm my confusion. But the main confusion is the micro aspect of looking at this as a vyavastha. And what does that mean? What it means is that my drishti, my vision, my focus, my conclusion, my way of thinking is outwardly bound, as though the world is going to give me the answers. And it has so many implications to it. It has implication on my taking it to be real. It has implication that I feel the suffering and pain when my expectations are not being met. It means that I have my next set of expectations is based on the outside world. In fact, my whole life depends upon a way of looking at the world as though it should be a vyavastha. This is really the main thing that we should really think about. And so even though in the last 3 or 4 verses, 6, 7, 4 verses, prabhavaha sarva bhavanam satamiti, etc., all of those kinds of verses really focus on the macro aspect of it. Macro aspect of it. This is what it is highlighting for the time being. And as we proceed on the rest of the Karika, because the Upanishad is going to be finished pretty soon, it will be over in the next couple of verses. After that, we are left with an enormous review of the Karika. So the Karika will now start to look at the micro aspect of it. But I'm just giving you a summary of what that is going to come. So what that means is, this is what we need to think about, is that the vyavastha, so it's not a theoretical kind of a thing that, why are you talking about vyavastha and so on and so forth. What I think it means is the way my attitude towards life is. And as I said just a little while ago, I aspect 3 or 4 different aspects. My expectations, my desires, my relationship, the way I look at it and so on is all as though the world is going to give me some answer. And it will give you some answer, but not the absolute answer that I really desire. The absolute answer that I really desire is my absolute freedom. And so if, again, in the terms of our familiar analysis, you can do some symptomatic relief. That's fine. We have no quarrel with that. Because if you're suffering with some kind of a pain due to a disease, and then somebody comes up and he says, forget about getting immediate relief. You need to really look into that as to why you are getting these kinds of problems. Then you get impatient. Hey, I want relief right now. Don't tell me about all this stuff about diseases and so on and so forth. Okay, I hear you. I'll take care of it. But right now, I'm in pain. So it's not as though the immediate vyavastha should be overlooked. The immediate vyavastha is that you are involved with it and you have a relationship which is real, which is fine. We understand that. Nothing that I say or what you say will change that. What we're telling you is that sooner or later, you please lift your vision to a status of the world as being avyavastha. That you should understand. And avyavastha means that you don't need the vyavastha. You don't need order in the world. You're okay. This is not clear to me. And unless this whole the whole idea of the fact that I don't need the vyavastha, until I start on that journey, I may never get there. So the sooner or later, I mean, this is exactly like saying, fine, you understand you have some pain and you are doing symptomatic relief, but please remember this is going to come back again. And you might as well look into the disease while you're treating the symptoms. That's the advice. That's the advice. So in that sense, this topic is talked about. And Swami Maheshananji did a great job of really wrapping up the overall topic in terms of the word vyavastha. I saw that the whole thing became very clear to me in terms of how the 4 or 5 verses are proceeding. So we are now wrapping up that, just a few more things, and then we will go further. So in the one thing I wanted to point out in terms of the remainder things is this. This is also an interesting aspect of the vyavastha. So Swami Maheshanji pointed out that, listen, the vyavastha should be based on, is not should be, it is okay to base on the Chetana Vastu, the conscious person. It is not okay if it is relied upon as dependent on the Jada Vastu. Jada Vastu means the inert world. And so, just to give you an idea, the analysis of the scientists in terms of looking at finer particles and so on and so forth is to rely on the vyavastha on the Jadavastu. And the Jadavastu is not going to give you the vyavastha. Then what will give me the vyavastha? Your vyavastha is okay for the time being if it is dependent on you. What does this mean, the dependent on me and not dependent? It's a beautiful example. Really, 2 or 3 wonderful examples given in here. Okay? First example. You say this is a straight line. And you draw a straight line. And if it's not done by the hand, because the hand cannot do a complete straight line, you rely on a ruler and you draw a straight line. And everybody says, is this a straight line? They say, yep, it's a straight line. Straight line. Okay, all agreed? Yes. Let's not argue too much. It's a straight line. There are no straight lines in this world, because the earth is curved. There is nothing straight in the whole creation. So what it means is, you have made a temporary rule that what appears straight for my eyes is straight. Good enough. I don't want to go into the real straightness in the whole creation. Similarly, for example, both you and I are hurtling through space at a speed that you cannot imagine. Cannot imagine. I don't even know, I don't think even anybody can even see how fast we are moving. It's not just the rotation of the earth, it's the rotation of the whole galaxy. Imagine. We are talking, you're sitting there, I'm sitting here, we are both talking. So here's the thing, the vyavastha is my assumption to get my world somewhat tolerable. I'm not worried about how fast we are moving. That doesn't really enter into my life because it doesn't matter to me. As long as we are able to transact, that's good enough. And as long as this appears to be a straight line, that's good enough. So this means that the vyavastha is something that I have arbitrarily, and Ishvara's creation has enabled me to do it, I've arbitrarily said, okay, this is good enough for me. So here's the thing, it's the same thing. If you look at how the particles come about and so on and so forth, it just means just assume that it is happening somehow or the other. And just make do with it. But don't try to peek into it because you'll never find it. If you want to say, I want to really find a straight line in the whole creation, you're not going to get it. The entire creation, Swami Dayanand also used to say that, the entire creation is in the form of circles. Circles. There's no straight line. In fact, our life is also not a straight line. We think it's a straight line because we think we are born at a particular point and we stay it for about 70, 80, 90 years and then we die. It's a straight line. It's not a straight line. It's a circle. It's a circle. You're born and you die and you just go back to another birth. And you die and you take back to another birth. So in summary, Swami Maheswaranji pointed out that the vyavastha at best can be useful to you based on the Chaitana Vastu. You have decided that this is good enough. And if you do that, then it's fine. But do not waste your time in figuring out that the vyavastha belongs to the Jada Vastu. Because it doesn't. It doesn't. So this is one example. There's like 3 or 4 examples. One example is a straight line. I added the idea, it's not my idea, but I'm just bringing it out from someplace else about the speed of our movement. That's another example. The third example is very interesting, which is that when you see a star twinkling in the sky, it is not there. It is not there. You're seeing something which is not there. Why? Because the light has taken some millions of light years to reach you, and by that time the star is gone. So what you are seeing is which is not reality. So if you trust you're thinking about, we all formations. Really, I wish I had more time to really be interested in the whole astronomy of the things, but I don't have the time. And it's always been very fascinating. But also fascinating about stars and the movement and the placement and so on. It's silly. It's like there's no straight line. It's something which, and also it's what is happening today, we may not be visible for millions of years to other people. The whole thing is just just magic. So this is another one. Then Swami Maheswaranji pointed out that what do you see it as a point? He said this is a point, like a very sharp pencil, and you make a mark. That's a point. From point 1 to point 2, like that you say. Swamiji says, no, there's no such thing as a point. Why not? Because you take a microscope, it looks like a big blob, about this big. You couldn't even read it, and and it's all woolly at the edges and so on and so forth. It's not a point. But we say, forget about the microscope, it's a point. That's okay. We're not arguing with that. But in reality, there is no such thing as a point. There is no such thing as a line. There is no such thing as a present star. There's no such thing as a speed or anything like that. It's just a magic. Now, the deal with magic, you have made some simplifications, and which is fine. So, the vyavastha which is transactional, vyavaharika sat, is okay. From paramarthika sat point, from the absolute reality, first of all, it is not there, as we just discussed it. There's no such thing as a straight line in the whole creation. It's not there. It's not necessary. It's irrelevant to your freedom. And you do not have any vyavastha in you. This will become a little bit clearer when we go to verse number 7, where it says prapancha rahitam. So we'll come to that hopefully even today, and if not, then next week. So the Atma is one where order is not necessary. There is no discontinuity, there's no confusion, no nothing. So vyavastha is not possible, it's not there in the Atma. But what we are talking about here is the way to understand it. Way to understand it, first of all, please see that through the understanding of all of these examples, that vyavastha in the world is stupidity. And this stupidity is confirmed by the fact that there are scientists who say, we are close to discovering what is going on. It's just a couple of things, some strings and so on and so forth. What is the name of this scientist who's very deformed? He has deformity, and what's his name?
Stephen Hawking.
So Stephen Hawkins wrote apparently some kind of a book or something where he says, we don't need God because we can figure it all out. And we are in the process of doing so. There's a couple of minor things missing here and there, but other than that, I think we will do that, and we don't need to figure it out. So this confirms my thinking. And so the damage to me is that I begin to rely upon the world to give me answers. So here this Màndukya and the Karika says, please, it's not going to become wiser. It is not going to happen. Why? Because at the end of it all, there is an X factor which says, don't know this. And so you have the entire 99.9%, which is we know this, we know how this works, but the last one, what difference does it make? If that creates the whole thing, you might as well start in the very beginning and say, we cannot know this. We cannot possible. And you really can't. So this example of the entire creation, there is nothing straight, is a very beautiful one. Really very beautiful one. There is no such thing as a straight line. I mean, even if you have this table, it has a slight curvature. And it's not visible to me. So this is the topic. This is a very important topic. And this is an expression of the very famous neti neti, naiti naiti. And so to get us from the sense that I am I am just a small human being, and to the point that I am not just a small human being, I'm somebody different from that. The opening to that path is this analysis that please see there is no vyavastha possible. And if there is some temporary vyavastha, it depends on you, which is okay for transacting as a symptomology. But please understand that that also is just an assumption on your part. Eventually, there is no vyavastha at all. You don't need vyavastha. Vyavastha is not for you, it is not in you, you are not it. All of this has to be revealed. Anyway, so with that, we close this topic. And so one other thing, which is another important summary as part of this whole thing, very important really, is this thing definition of what is called swabhava. Remember we talked about this in the swabhava. So two impastha and the other one is swabhava. So the swabhava means, these are just beautiful concepts, honestly, where it is, if we understand it, and our vision of what Vedanta means, our vision of how it distinguishes itself from other thought, very clear. Remember, I'm just reminding you, it's very interesting that Buddhists say that there is no God. Besides, argue that if our God was there, and for example, Christians believe that there's two parallel forces. You have the evil forces, and you have the force. And so people struggle with this idea of problems in this life, the terrorism and so on. How can that be? If God is loving and so forth, then it doesn't say the same. That there cannot be God because of the same kind of issues. I won't go into the details. So the Vedantins say that there is a swabhava in the whole creation. Each also has a swabhava. As a saguna person, he has a swabhava. And what is the swabhava? Swabhava is that you understand the reality of Ishvara and the reality of the world, there is no dukkha. If you do not understand it and you postulate, the possibility of dukkha is. Possibility doesn't have to be necessarily dukkha. So the example of the rope and the snake comes in. That as long as rope it is. This is called tattva. So tattva, which means truth, tat actually means Brahman. Brahman is also called tat. Om tat sat. These are the three, they are synonyms. And sat, all three are synonyms. So tat is the name of Brahman, the truth, about you, the Atma. And tattva means the quality of being truthful. It's called tattva, means truth. So if the tattva of the rope is known, then there is no problem. If the tattva of rope is not known, there could be a problem. We don't say necessarily, because as Vedanta points out, even though we usually use the word snake, but you can take it as a hose. You can take it as some kind of a garland. But it's a mistake, but it's a harmless mistake. But if you take it possibly as a snake, because to take a rope for a snake requires a lot of samskaras. As I was telling you, for those of us, and I'm one of those, that grew up in the land of snakes. When my father used to have a home in Bihar, in the middle of the coal field, we were living in the middle of the forest. That was really the home of the snakes. And we were invading it. And they were free to come in and out. And every day we had to be very careful. And so I remember I used to have nightmares at night time. Whenever there would be some kind of a nightmare, snakes will come in. It took me a long time to get rid of it. There were some techniques. The biggest technique was that before you go to sleep, you tell, okay, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. It's okay. Don't come. If you come, I won't be. And they just don't come anymore in the night time. Anyway, so the samskaras of the snakes are there. Then the mistake is harmful, because you can get scared of it, and you can. People say in that there are known to be deaths due to heart attacks because people thought they were bitten by a snake, and they were not. Anyway, this is what some people say. So anyway, so the swabhava, this is what we say. This is what Vedanta says. That the swabhava of Ishvara and the world, it's all the same, because Ishvara is both the nimitta karanam and upadana karanam. Therefore, the world and Ishvara are not separate from each other. This is the body of Ishvara. And so, if you understand Ishvara, there's no problem. If you make a mistake about it, there is a possibility of dukkha. And this is repeated over and over again. Adi Shankara, I was looking for I don't know if I can find it anyway. So Adi Shankara also, might as well good to look into that. Where is it? I think it's on the left-hand side top corner. So let me look at it somewhere. Yeah. So he says, Bhagwan Bhashyakara कहते हैं, Bhashyakara means Adi Shankara, nahi rajwadinam avidya swabhava vyatirekena sarpadi abhavatve karanam shakyam vaktum. This is the I don't know where he says it. I'll repeat it one more time. Nahi jvadinam avidya sabhava vyatirekena sarpadve shakyam vak. On this is the Hindi book. You don't have that. Top 244. So Adi Shankara also makes a summary statement that without, just like in the case of Rajju and Sarpa, rope and snake, until you have avidya, you cannot, there is no creation. And this is the thing that, I mean, if you look at, supposing you are the You're Ishvara and you're creating the world. What a beautiful thing it is. Just amazing. Just look at this. You're creating this world. One way is to really create it, which means that there is sukha, there is dukkha, and there's no way to get rid of it until you do this, all of this. This is one thing. The other way is to make a possibility where it is possible to make a mistake. And the creation comes about because of the mistake. But there is no real creation. This is the way the creation is made. What a beautiful. And in fact, I think I mentioned this to some of you before, that really speaking, just like an artist who visualizes a painting and uses different colors to express the thoughts in the form of a painting, the colors that Ishvara uses is basically ajnanam. The paint for the whole creation is ignorance. And there are some strands of ignorance. You may have another color in it, which could be rajas, tamas, and sattva. These are the three different subcolors of ajnanam. This is how the whole creation is made. And Ishvara gives us hints that please, this is just a pretend creation. And the hints are provided in the form of dream state and deep sleep state. Strong hints that we don't take until it is pointed out by the Shruti that this is an important hint. See it right in front of you, Anubhava. It's just a beautiful Anubhava experience. That, I mean, when I always mention that to you, that I sometimes think, here's a person who just murdered someone. Imagine the emotions and the thoughts and the regrets and whatever for murder. And even the murderer, when he goes to sleep, he is free from all problems. Amazing. What a hint Ishvara has given. And so, really speaking, to summarize this whole thing, the swabhava of Ishvara is the whole creation is the fact that if you understand it, there's no problem. If you don't understand it, there could be a problem. This is swabhava. This is how the painting is made. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, the example of the the speed and so on and so forth. There's another example that I forgot to give. Beautiful example. And so there you can say the three aspects of it is the desha, kala, and karana. These are the three aspects of avyavastha, where vyavastha is just assumed. So we saw the karana, which was the straight line, that really speaking, that is the effect of the whole creation. There cannot be anything. So karana is gone. Kala, we saw in the stars not being there because of time. Here's an example of desha, which I forgot to give you. In desha, Swami Maheshanji points out that suppose you have the 7 different colors, vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue, It's yellow, orange, and red. These are the 7 colors. And you now have a separate, supposing you have a circle and you have these pie-shaped colors in this circle. And they all look very different. All look different. Now you start to move the circle. And they all get mixed up, but they still have some color still there, some brownish color will be there, something. If you speed it up, they all become white. And really speaking, so this is called Desha Avyavastha. Desha Avyavastha means that you are imagining a particular place for the colors. And at the same place, if you have a completely different movement, it disappears. So he points out that really it's the whole world is nothing but non-real, ultimately non-real. Don't look for reality in the world. That was the example that he gave. And you know what? I think we are completely done with this section. Yeah, I think we've done. We still have enough time, so let's start on the important verse of the Upanishad. So let's do this. This is a verse that I think we should memorize. Let's make an attempt to memorize it, so you should be able to just repeat it in your own. Even I have forgotten it. I've got to remember it. I used to remember it, but so let's chant this 3 times just to see, and then we will start the translation. Number 7. So you can just follow after me. Na antaf pragyam, na bahish pragyam, no ubhayataf pragyam, na pragyana ganam, na pragyam, na pragyam, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, ekatmyam. So I think all one word. I'm just trying to see. Ekantam pratyayasaram, prapancho upashamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtham manyante, sa atma, sa vigyeyah. Let's do one more time. Nantaf pragyam, na bahish pragyam, no bhayataf pragyam, na pragyana ganam, na pragyam, na pragyam, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, ekantam tamya pratyayasaram, ekantamya prapancha upashamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtham manyante, sa atma, sa vigyeyah. Last time. Na antah pragyam, na bahish pragyam, no bhayatah pragyam, na prajnanaghanam, na prajnam, na pragyam, adrishtam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achintyam, avyapadeshyam, ekantam pratamya pratyayasaram, ekantamya pratyasa prapanchopashamam, shantam, shivam, advaitam, chaturtham manyante, sa atma, sa vijñeyaha.
Is it ekatma pratyayasaram?
Ekatma pratyasaram.
Ekatma pratyayasaram.
Ekatma. Yes. There is then. It should be ekatma pratyayasara. Yeah, that's what was. Something was not right. Yeah, it's an atma, so it should be a complete ma. Ekatma pratyayasara. Ekatma pratyay, not atmya pratyayasaram, but ekatma pratyayasaram. So let's just look at the word meanings for now, and then we will examine the whole thing. Sa atma sa vijñeyaha means, vijñeyaha means it needs to be understood. It needs to be known. Known means tattvam, means as it is. It's just like showing that you're just scared about this snake or anything. There is no snake. This is a rope. So it should be, somebody, supposing somebody says, I don't want to even go there because I think there is a snake in that corner. So the person goes there and he says, is it what you were calling this? This is the area you were confused in? He says, yes. Okay, this is not a snake. This needs to be seen. Come here. He says, I don't want to go there. He says, then, okay, suffer. What are you going to do? But come here. This needs to be seen. Let me show you this is not what you think it is. Similarly, here also, he says, sa atma sa vijñeyaha. This needs to be seen. And the whole description is what it is not, and what it is. So the list of, so this is in some way a summary of the first 6 verses, where you talked about the, the state of Jagrat Avastha and so on and so forth. All this will become summarized. Now, antah prajna. So the antah prajna here, I'll just quickly give a couple of comments on each one of them so that it doesn't become purely a Sanskrit translation. But of course, the whole explanation will come later. I mean, talking about explanation, is page 244. I think Swami Maheshananji spends 60 pages. I think will be 2019 by the time we finish this, if we really go through this whole thing, which we won't. But it's an amazing commentary on this. So we look forward to looking into that, but seeing that. But just to give you some color, either one, na antah pragyam. Antah pragyam means not the internal consciousness, which is characterized completely by the dream state And even during the waking state, it is there in preponderance. In fact, your own thinking, your own thoughts can be classified as antaf prajna. Antaf prajna. So the Atma is not that. You are not what your thoughts are. This is this starting point. You are not your thoughts. Na bahish pragyam. So I'm just going to briefly mention that, and then we will give more exhaustive commentary as time goes on. Na bahish pragyam. Bahish pragyam means that, for example, when you're looking at the scene right now with your eyes open, then the presentation of the scene, your response to it, your involvement with it, your reaction to it, your proposals for it is bahish prajna. Like, for example, you can say it's too cold. Somebody please turn the heat on. Or is that too dark? Please, all of that, external. So the thoughts and reactions which are prompted by your sense organs and by the outside world, those are bahish pragyam. Bahish pragyam. No. So he says Atma is not that. So those are just two different elements of that. One is your own thoughts. Generally, when you're just thinking, either with your eyes, even your eyes are open, but your thoughts are not with respect to the scene in front of you. You are just thinking of something else. Or your eyes are closed and you're just thinking, or you're dreaming, are antaf pragyam. Now, bahish pragyam. Now, ubhayataf pragyam. So this is an interesting thing, quite often talked about in the Vedanta, is that what happens is, you can experience this actually, and you have experienced it. You are waking up from sleep, and you are no longer in the dream state, or certainly you are no longer in the deep sleep state, but no longer, supposing you were dreaming, and the alarm clock rings, and then you immediately wake up from it. When you wake up from it, perhaps you have not gone into the full Jagrat Avastha yet. What does that mean? It means, because Jagrat Avastha, the waking state, means your identification with yourself as a person is now full. This is what happens. This time to wake up is a very important one. Swami Maheshananji also points out, it's a very important one. It's an opportunity to reflect. Just a second. I know you have to go to the office and you got things to do and so on. But take a minute or two, that's it. Just a minute or two to reflect. So this is an important thing. This ubhayataf pragyam is that state which is neither here nor there. And this is an opportunity. How? So the opportunity is that you should just, so before I say that, when I say that you have not become fully awake yet, what does that mean, not fully awake yet? That means that your identification as a jiva is not complete yet. What does that mean? That means you remember who you are, and then all the rest of the things come up. You're a wife, you're a husband, you're an office goer, you're a parent. All of those things come up. But The first thing when you wake up is, I am conscious. And then immediately, very soon, in a matter of seconds, your identity impinges back on you, which you had given up during night. You have no identity associated with personality at night time. But it comes back. So, in between them, there is an opportunity. And one should really avail of that opportunity. And eventually, the best way to look at that is that I am a conscious being. This is the most important identity you can do. And the conscious being is the same as in both the states. I am a conscious being. Now, I am a conscious being is usually accompanied by my personality. So you take on the personality because you're used to doing it. You don't think about just a conscious being as a consciousness. So immediately a personality comes in terms of who you are. But before you do that, you should just pause and just think about yourself. I'm a conscious being. In fact, as you understand this better and better and more clearly, you will see that I am just a conscious being. And that's the person. And you're not looking into the personality of who you are. So this in the beginning will just be, it will just be a kind of like a small attempt, maybe not fully successful over time, until we begin to really get clarity about this whole thing. And then eventually, what it would be that even when you are involved in the transactions, you do not forget that you are just a conscious being. That will come. But in the beginning, this small period, this is signified by na ubhayataf pragyam. And here Swami Maheshanji points out, don't think. So, because what will happen is, just to, sorry, before I complete that sentence, what happens is, when you say I'm a conscious being, you still have a kind of like a funny personality, because you still have some personality, but a funny personality. And the funny personality is that I'm neither here nor there. That's the personality. That is not Brahman. Brahman would be when I am pure, as this whole verse will say, that I am really the very conscious being. That you don't get that in the Ubhayata Pragya. So the Ubhayata Pragya also, you see the point that it's a difficult point. Point I'm making is that the Ubhayata Pragya also is a kind of like a thought. That's not what you are, but it's a useful thought, because it allows you to question your identity before you assume it immediately. And anyway, there's a lot of discussion in Vedanta about this elsewhere. Perhaps even in the Karikas it will come. I don't remember it. I studied it, last year or a couple of years back. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, at this point, na ubhayatav pragyam, na pragyana ghanam. So here, na pragyana ghanam represents. So in a way, this verse summarizes the three states of your existence. Antav pragyam is the dream state, bahish pragyam is the waking state, or anything in between. Any combination of that is by ubhayatav pragyam. Na pragyana ghanam is this deep sleep state. In the deep sleep state, ghanam means a mass of consciousness. You are not just a mass of consciousness. Why? What's the difference between consciousness and the mass of consciousness? We say that the mass of consciousness is still surrounded by ajnanam. It is covered, not surrounded, but covered by ignorance. And you go back into your karana sharira, your causal body alone, which is not variegated. There's a single darkness to it. And so that is what is called pragyana ghanam. You still are, this is not knowledge, and that's why, even though we give you some ananda, temporary ananda, this is not the permanent ananda, because you go back into problems as soon as you wake up. It's just a respite is given to you. And so, Ishvara, so na pragyana, na pragyam, na pragyam. Na pragyam here means it is not Atma here. He's talking about the Atma. Sa vijñeyaha sa Atma. It's not known as an object. We'll go into this more detail from next week on. I just want to finish the initial survey of this. Na pragyam means not known as an object. Na apragyam. Even though it is not known as an object, it is not unknown. It is not unknown. Then adrishtam, not unknown means that it is already known. You cannot have something, it is not a jadavastu. Not a jadavastu. Anyway, we'll go into that. It may not be a complete explanation. Adrishtam. Adrishtam means that, again, so distinguishing it from napragyam, which was a general not known. Na adrishtam means that you cannot see it with your sense organs. You cannot see it with the sense organs. Like, for example, you cannot see heat with your eyes. So all the sense organs have a very strict area where they're good at. You cannot go cross it. And all of the sense organs cannot cross it to go into the Atma. So, adrishtam. Avyavaharyam. Avyavaharyam means that, here Swami Maheshananji pointed out, we'll go into this in more detail, that all vyavahara is possible due to Atma alone, but Atma is not one of the objects of your vyavahara. Like it is, for example, you can give some things. Vyavahara means transactions. You can give something, you can take something, you can find it useful, etc., etc. None of that applies to the Atma. Avyavaharyam. Agrahyam means that maybe my sense organs may not be able to transact with it, but my organs of action, hands, legs, and so on and so forth, maybe I can taste it. No. Alakshanam. So alakshanam means that it has no inferability. Inferability means that, for example, when you see a smoke, you can infer there is a fire. It is called lakshanam. So Lakshana of fire is black smoke, not white smoke, which is just, heat. That's not fire, but a black smoke. As soon as you see a black smoke, then you say, there's a fire. It's not possible to infer it because there is no lakshana for it that you can be used to it. Then achintyam. Achintyam means that you cannot just grasp it with the way the mind works. Into this in more detail. The way the mind works is that whatever is, it should be graspable by me, and it cannot be done. Avyapadeshyam. So vyapadeshyam means it cannot be defined and taught according to the way we teach and see things in our life. It cannot be done that way. This is why the teaching of Vedanta is so difficult and unique. Swami Dayananji he spent a lot of time talking about this. And he says a lot of that really is kind of a very subtle communication between the teacher and the student. And it requires a different way. And the funny part of this whole thing is that it doesn't need to be shown. It needs to be shown, but it doesn't need to be shown. All that needs to be shown is things that you are not. What you take it to be yourself, you are not. That's it. Otherwise, it comes out by itself. And we'll describe all of that. Ekatma pratyaya saram. And so now we can go from what it is not to what it is. It has now transferred over. So up to that was na this, not this. Ekatma pratyaya saram. And so that means that it is ekatma means non-changing. Me. I am. Pratyaya saram. So in fact, it is like it is the essence of the word, essence of the I thought. Essence of the I thought. So for example, I'm just going to spend a minute on this, no more than that, even less than that. So for example, when you say I, at any point, all your life, the I is involved. I was going there, and I have a question. Here's my answer. I. And we take it in a compartmental way. I am doing this, I am doing that, I am thinking, I'm happy, I'm unhappy. There is a saram of this pratyaya. These are called pratyaya. Aham, I thought. Saram means that we do not ever inquire into the nature of this transactional I. I am doing this. Who is this I? And this I is borrowed by me as a person, but by itself it doesn't change. This is the first introduction to the Atma. So this is what is called Ekatma Pratyaya Saram. And then we saw earlier Prapancha Upashamam. There is no prapancha, there is no vyavahara, there is no vyavastha, nothing. It's just, this is part of the problem. We always think of that I must be a transactional. Who am I? And so this is kind of like I'm a room space. Then I have a personality. But no, you are everything. And it's not easy to grasp. Anyway, prapancha upashamam. Then shantam. Then shivam, advaitam. All of this will run into, I think we'll do that next time. There's a lot to be talked about. So we'll stop at this point in time. Shivam, the very interesting thing, a lot of insight into Shivam, Swami Maheshananji pointed out. So we'll look forward to really, not next week, but 2 weeks from now, resuming this and understanding the meaning of the words. So we will do that. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaah Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyah Prithvi Sasya Shalini Deshoyam Kshobarahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Dinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
You talked about Vaish Prajna, Dhana Prajna.
Yeah.
Why Taijasa is not referenced here?
Taijasa. So, just using different words, that's all. It's the same thing. Taijasa. They're just, these are synonyms, really. Just. So all three of the states are represented, and so Vishwa and Taijasa, all of them are represented here, but perhaps described in different words. Concept remains the same. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm finding it hard to digest the concept that Ishvara made a mistake in creating, how you say it. What was it you tried to say?
No, there's no mistake. No, I don't. How did you get the idea?
You were saying if you did, I was imagining you were creating something.
Oh yeah. So what I was saying was that if you were to create something, supposing you are, it's a good way to look at it. Actually, it's a very nice way to say. Supposing you were given the task of creating the world. So either is that there's no creation, which is actually the truth. There is no creation. But if you say, well, that's no fun, there needs to be something, some kind of a drama, then the best way to create the drama is where the dukkha is a pretend dukkha. Not a real dukkha. If you create a real dukkha, then it's not a good creation. But if you were to create a dukkha, Like children play, sometimes they'll say, "You're dead." And the other person is still moving. He says, "Don't move, you're dead." So it's like a pretend death, And sometimes they put all these rubber snakes into the bed. So then it's a pretend fear. That's the best way to create, really speaking. So that is the pretension, the causing of dukkha through pretension is part of the creation. Otherwise there is no creation. And there is no creation. So that's what it is, not a mistake. No. This is the way it is. There's no, it just goes on. This is the element of it. Yeah. Yeah.
You wanted us to bypass the seventh verse. Is it good for meditation?
It will be very good for meditation. Yes, very much so. Yeah, it is useful, used very much for the basis of meditation. To structure your meditation in a way. So now, bahish pragyana, anta pragyana, etc. Yes, very much so. Yeah.
In Shukti Avastha, the Sthula and Sukshma Sharira are not there, but Karan Sharira is there.
For which one? In which one?
So Shukti Avastha.
The Sripti, yes. Karan Sharira is there.
Sukshma and
Correct.
Sharira.
That's
But
true.
Karan Sharira is
Karan Sharira is
is
there.
Karan Sharira same as Ajnana?
Yes, it is. Yeah. All right, so hopefully if you guys are free next Saturday, please come to our Aim for Seva event. Thanks, many of you have contributed. Thank you very much for that. And if not, then have a wonderful new year. And we'll see you 2 weeks from today. Thank you. Vaidehi, I have the book for you.